In Transit, in Power, EQ and AIQ reflections on identity from Palermo's night watch. Palermo Airport, midnight. The fluorescent lights hum softly above me. The terminal is almost empty. Just the sound of wheels dragging across tile, of silent passengers curled in chairs with backpacks as pillows, of announcements in languages blending into white noise. Beyond the glass facade, the night wraps around the airport like an old silk scarf, loose, soft, a little torn by the wind. To my back, the mountain range stands quietly, as if keeping guard over centuries of travellers. In front of me, the sea opens its dark arms, glittering with the cold reflections of runway lights and the dreams of people in transit. I sit here alone, yet I do not feel alone, because in this moment, between arrivals and departures, between what has ended and what is next, I feel most alive, I feel most real, I feel most myself. The power of the in-between airports are often framed as non-places, temporary spaces where nothing is fixed. Anthropologist Marc Auger described them as spaces of transience, stripped of identity, history, or permanence. But for me, Palermo Airport tonight is something more profound. It is a sacred threshold, a liminal space, a place where identities are suspended, where the past does not yet define the future, and where you are allowed, maybe even required, to sit in deep reflection. There is a kind of quiet agency in the waiting. There is power in this pause. There is wisdom that only whispers when you are not rushing to become something. This is where true identity is not assumed, not inherited, not assigned, but crafted. Identity as a state, not a label. Tonight, as the wind brushes past the glass, I reflect on how identity is so often treated like a business card. Nationality, gender, job title, ethnicity, check the box, fill the form, define or be defined. But my identity has always eluded these frameworks. I am Sicilian and global, Mediterranean and academic, feminine and forceful, neurodiverse and visionary. I am the daughter of many mothers, philosophy, poetry, survival, justice, technology, silence. And none of those fit neatly into categories. I believe identity is not a declaration, but a negotiation. It is something we sculpt, sometimes with gentle hands, sometimes by smashing clay that no longer fits. It is something we arrive at, after years of arguing with ourselves, with our families, with institutions that demanded one form of being. Identity, for me, is not even about belonging to one place or another. It's about reclaiming complexity. It's about learning to hold contradictions and thrive in that tension, to say without shame, I am this and that, I am neither, I am all. Palermo, the border city of belonging. There is a reason I chose to wait in Palermo. This city is not just another airport, it is a metaphor in itself. Palermo lies on the northern edge of the global south, a bridge between Europe and North Africa, West and East, tradition and revolution. It does not pretend to be polished like Paris or minimalist like Copenhagen. Palermo breathes with history that is lived, not curated. Arab domes rest beside Norman cathedrals. Markets smell of cumin, oranges, seaweed, and rebellion. Its people speak with their eyes, their hands, their entire soul. Palermo is messy, fierce, beautifully disobedient, and so am I. There is something in this city that makes me feel more at home than in many cosmopolitan cities of the global north, because here the layers are not hidden, they are celebrated. Here, duality is not a threat, it is a birthright. EQ and AIQ, intelligence as integration. I often speak of EQ and AIQ, two intelligence domains that leaders, pioneers, and changemakers must master. Tonight, they return to me like old friends. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is not just about managing feelings. It is about listening deeply, about understanding your own internal landscape enough to navigate external complexity without losing yourself. It is what allows me to sit here alone in the airport and not be afraid of the silence. EQ is what allows identity to be felt, not performed. It is the force that teaches us to accept and integrate multiple versions of ourselves. Artificial intelligence, AIQ, is the art of working with systems beyond us, digital, cognitive, and social. It is understanding how data, algorithms, and automation shape human futures and refusing to be passive in the process. But I say this, AIQ without EQ is dangerous. It becomes extraction, colonization of thought. The real leaders of the next decade will not be those who dominate AI, but those who bring soul to it, those who can bring humanness into systems thinking, those who can code complexity into compassion. To those who feel fragmented, to the ones who are waiting in emotional airports, to those who feel in between cultures, in between decisions, in between versions of yourself, you are not broken. Liminality is not weakness, it is preparation. You are not indecisive. You are becoming more whole. We are told to simplify ourselves for the world to digest us more easily. But I say, don't shrink to fit. Expand, complicate, layer. Speak your paradoxes. Your fragmented pieces are not flaws, they are future architecture. The philosophy of the night watch. As I wait to board, I enter what I call the night watch, the sacred hour where thinkers, mystics, revolutionaries, and mothers find their clarity. It is not morning yet, the world is asleep, but something inside me is burning awake. In these moments, I remember that real leadership is forged not in the spotlight, but in these quiet crucibles, when no one is clapping, when no audience validates you, when you must sit with your full self, unmasked, unfiltered, and still choose to love who you are becoming. It's here, in Palermo's midnight terminal, that I make another small vow to myself, to stay loyal to complexity, to speak from the margins, to lead from the in-between, from the airport to the arena. Tomorrow morning, I will fly. I will go to my daughter, to my other responsibilities, to the world that asks me to move forward. But tonight, I honor the stillness, the agency of the threshold, the radical self-definition born only in quiet waiting. Palermo, with its mountains behind and sea ahead, reminds me, you can be rooted and fluid. You can be heritage and invention. You can be all yourselves and still forge something new. This is not indecision. This is mastery. Call to you, the pioneers, so I ask you, where are your airports? Which one is the city you love? What spaces do you avoid because they feel undefined? Can you sit with yourself there, not rush to label or fix? Can you learn to lead without knowing, and find that leadership is not always direction, but depth? We are not here to replicate old templates. We are here to write new ones. And it starts, not in the arenas of applause, but in the night watches of Palermo, where the self is neither departing nor arriving, but simply becoming. Subscribe and consider my quote, identity is not what you say you are. It is what you accept you might forever be evolving into.